Hey everyone, I'm Melissa Macaluso. I'm a senior customer success manager here at League Apps. I'm here with my colleague and teammate Rohit Kohli, and we're here to talk about a partnership that we both really value a ton, as well as the larger League Apps community with the New Jersey Colonials. I'm really excited to sit down with a partner of ours who I also consider a friend, Callie Smith. So Callie, with that, I'd love to kick it over to you. It's awesome to see you here. We talk all the time, but it's nice to get some Zoom contact every once in a while, go face to face. And I'd love if you could just introduce yourself, give us some background on the Colonials, and just kind of what makes the organization unique.
Hi, Melissa. Hi, Roy. The Colonials are a youth hockey organization, and what makes them unique is they're a Northern New Jersey team, and they've been in the area and in operation since 1971. So come this spring, they'll have been around for 50 years. And hockey's been around for a long time, but it was very regional when it first started, and it's becoming more and more national throughout the country, especially with the expansion in the 90s and early 2000s into non-traditional hockey markets. And that has really helped the quality of the U.S. player throughout the country. But to say that the Colonials have been providing quality players that have played at all levels, some have made it to the NHL, some have played in Europe, many have made it to Division I, Division III schools, and even ACHA, which is college hockey, more on the club level, but an extremely high level of hockey. And in addition, our girls program started in the early 2000s, and that program has had an amazing amount of success, an amazing amount of players going to Division I and Division III schools, and some of those players have even gone on to the NWHL and other pro leagues. But most
That's
of
amazing.
all, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying that's amazing. I know that was kind of one of the biggest things when I was talking to you, Callie, when we were first really kind of getting going conversations was it was really impressive, not just kind of the Colonials, amount of players, but also just kind of the reach and like the history and so many players kind of like you said going on to the next level. So, I mean, is there something that you guys attribute that to kind of on the ice or off the ice? Or do you kind of, how do you think it got to this level?
I think one of our biggest reasons for the longevity has been past leadership. And one of our board presidents, who is now currently the treasurer on the executive board of USA Hockey, Donna Garigula, was very involved, and she started all kinds of coaching initiatives for the program. Was very much involved in getting the women's program on the board, and she's an amazing human being. I've met her a few times. Then there's been leadership, Jean Paleco, who is now the commissioner of AYHL, which is the Tier 1 boys league in the region, in the Atlantic District, and he's very much involved in the Atlantic District. They set the bar high, very organized, really did a lot of good things to build up the program and its reputation. And I would say that pretty much the coaches, there's been a buy-in from coaches and families throughout the time they want to be a part of the Colonials. It has a reputation, and being around for so long, it's really nice when we have parents that come in and say, hey, I played for the Colonials. I want my kids to play for the Colonials, and they want to volunteer and they want to coach as well. So it's really exciting to see that legacy starting to happen. And we now, we have a recent turnover of board members, and they're all committed to trying to do the right thing. The environment of youth hockey is very different from when it started. So now it's much more competitive. There are so many rinks in New Jersey, so many teams in just within 20 miles of us. So we have to up our game all the time to make sure that we're reaching out to our families and giving our players a quality experience.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of that is like building in the culture and like building into the community and really making sure that you guys are keeping that, top of mind. when you guys also kind of take a step back and think about like the operations of just how you communicate with parents and how you set the standard or how things need to be communicated on where you're traveling to or how much things are going to cost. How do you guys kind of really make sure that's at the highest level, at the highest rank, and make sure you guys are communicating to the best of your ability?
That can be very difficult at times. When you have, right now, our organization has over 500 players. At times it can swell up to over 600 players, and trying to communicate with that many people it really can be different because so many people have different ideas on what they want out of hockey. We have tier 1 hockey, which is the highest level of competition. And a lot of the players in that part of the program really have aspirations to go on and play at a higher level, be it junior, be it college, even pros. And then we have families that are playing tier 2 and they want their kids to have a great experience. And tier 2 has very high level. It goes from AA all the way down to B. And we have parents with kids in B that they want their kids to just have fun. They want them to get life experiences and life lessons from the game. And we want that for all of our levels, but the expectations, so the expectations and what they want out of the organization are very different. So our tier 1 program, our boys tier 2 program, and our girls program all have a little bit different goals in mind for how we want to provide for the families. So, and then to communicate that, we have tryouts in March, and most of our older teams are still playing at that time. So we're trying to, where did we stand this year, and budget wise, and as a nonprofit organization, you have to make sure you stay on budget, because we don't have a rink to offer special programs to raise more money. If we need to raise more money, we would have to do fundraisers, and we try not to do too much of fundraising. We try to make sure that we're budgeting for what the program is, and because you can't always depend on fundraising, but we want to make sure that the program we have for our players is making them a better player, developing them as a player, and developing them as a better person, such as a better teammate, working within those constraints.
Yeah, totally. And I think, you hit the nail on the head with just kind of so many variables to make sure that you're putting together the best product for everybody that's involved, not you and the rest of the organizers, but, everybody that's part of the organization. And a big part of that is, service and support, just kind of in general. Curious to kind of hear your thoughts on just the picture of how you and the team were handling those operations before you made that switch over to League Apps. What were some of those challenges that, you were really hoping to solve? Because it's got to be a work in progress. You always have to be, wanting to do better, not, again, just for internal, but for external as well.
Yeah. About 10, 15 years ago, the organization maybe had 15 teams. Forgive me if I might be off a little bit on the number of teams. So that's a little bit more manageable if you think that there's 15 to 20 players on 15 teams, and now we have over 30. That's a lot of people to get in touch with. So what and when I started, the people that had been doing it for a long time and were extremely organized, but everything was on spreadsheets. There wasn't a lot of technology being brought into it. And so answers to questions on where do we stand with this team, how many players do we have, it wasn't quite an easy answer. You couldn't just go and look it up and find it out. And someone tried to bring in some technology, and they brought in another like a management software, and it just wasn't the right fit for us. It didn't work out well. We had some confidentiality issues of more information being available than we were comfortable with to our membership. And so I started, my background, I worked in the NHL, I managed scouting databases, and the technology from when I started in the NHL to the end was incredible. And I mean, when I started, I was somebody who was comfortable with technology. And so that opened up a lot of doors for me. And by the end, some of the things I was doing in my early days was now being done by Harvard grads with doctorates in mathematics. So it just shows you how far things went there. So I tried to bring some of what I was learning on the NHL level, that technology can help you. And that's where I started researching. And I put a lot of companies through a lot of questions. Roy can remember when we talked to League Apps. I kept firing questions at him, and what about this? What about this? And sometimes it was there was an easy answer, and sometimes it was, you know what? I don't know. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. And
I would ask Melissa, by the way, if we afterwards.
And so in talking to Roy and about this product and researching, when we finally looked at what our needs were, League Apps really fit it. You had a background for the financial information that we did not have. Everything was on spreadsheets. And you had a dashboard that if someone asked me, how much money has this team brought in? I can tell them, I can say just one moment. And usually within 10, 15 seconds, they can have an answer of, this is how much is invoiced and this is how much is paid. How many players are behind on their payments? I can click on the invoices and I can say, oh, there's 6 red dots here. How far behind are they? I can run reports every month. And we have information at the tips of our fingertips now that weren't there in the beginning. And that's where we transitioned. And when we run our registration, we're not asking people to fill out a paper contract and then putting it into a spreadsheet and then trying to keep track of contracts and things. We have everything online at our disposal. And if a parent asks about a contract, log into your account and you can go here, and you can print out the PDFs of all your contracts to make sure you know what you signed. It's really nice to have a relational database that does that. Hey, you need your schedule? You don't have to check out our website or call the master scheduler or look at our spreadsheet. You go to your calendar, you can subscribe to your calendar. It's really open.
Quick question there on top of that, Callie. Just when you're saying like you're getting internal questions, from the board or from a team or from the president, saying how much is this team bringing in or how many players, kind of like what is usually the problem or what are you guys usually trying to get? Like what's the issue there that you guys now have a solution for? I guess like why are you guys kind of sometimes in those situations?
Well, because every year it's very different as to who comes to your teams. And as I said, it's competitive, but we want to make sure that we set a budget based on a minimum roster, and we want to make sure that we meet that minimum roster. And if we haven't, we want to find out, well, do we have an opportunity to bring in another player, or what can we do to enhance this team? And sometimes the question is, I see that this team is there, they should be on budget, but they're not. Can you answer why not? And say we have a few players behind on their payments and things like that. And you do have situations, not everybody is the same, and you have families that run into hardship, and this helps bring on those conversations sooner than later, where if you're not realizing why is someone behind on their payments, or you can have that conversation in September rather than waiting until December and say, hey, your child isn't allowed on the ice because they haven't paid. If you started that conversation in September and you understand the situation, you can work with the family. We try to have, this year's very, very different with COVID. We've had to be much more flexible, and we don't traditionally like to have people paying during the season. We like to make sure everyone's paid up before the season so that you can make sure that you stay within your budget. And we have to prepay for ice. We have a lot of operational expenses that we have to prepay for. But there are people that they can say, well, hey, I lost my job for a couple months. Is it okay if instead of being paid up by September
Yeah.
1st, can you let me pay up by September 15th? Those types
So
of
you never
things.
want to say no, but you just want to have a system in place so you can actually track it, right? Because again, you guys will figure it out. You'll be flexible. You guys are good people. We want everybody to play, but you obviously have to get your money. So it just allows you to
Yeah.
be a little bit more flexible and nimble.
Yeah, it gives us a lot of flexibility like that, and it does allow you to be human.
Yep.
But but it also sometimes lets you realize that, wait a second, it's we're willing to help you out, but don't abuse it.
Right.
That's
too.
great.
Absolutely. No, and I think it all circles back again to knowing what's going on in your organization, and you might be able to get that in different means, but to have it in one place, save you time, know exactly where to go and how to look for it. I know, I speak on behalf of many people, anybody that has personally had conversations with you, but just the broader organization in general, we're so happy, that you made the switch to League Apps, and, that you're getting so much benefit out of it. Obviously it's a learning process. It's a project to make that switch and to get everything transitioned seamlessly. Talk a little bit about kind of what that transition was like. I know we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, who was involved, but what that experience was, the team in place, and how that helped kind of shape the experience with League Apps.
Yeah. The first experience was with Roy, and I hit it off very well. He's very outgoing, really, and again, very open to hard questions and finding out answers. And then once we made the decision to go into League Apps, it was full steam ahead, and we got an account rep, Mike Granith, and he was fantastic. And we've transitioned to you, Melissa, and having an account rep specifically for us to reach out when you find yourself stuck in a corner, or you're not exactly sure, or we're about to launch a huge registration that has major budget implications. You want to make sure you don't make mistakes that parents don't know what they're doing, or people are registering for the wrong teams. It's just nice to have that backup. And that is something that was unusual that you offered compared to the other organizations. And that really spoke to me, knowing that we have 4 full-time employees and we have some part-time employees managing usually about 600 players and the parents with them. That is a lot of people to manage.
Yeah.
And it helped make it not so overwhelming. League Apps makes that not so overwhelming, but also knowing that you have our backs is so huge. And that has continued from start to finish. I had onboarding sessions with Taylor Collins, and he was starting to show me how to work with the program. And there's so many features in the program that I still don't know everything, and a deep dive. I attend your seminars all the time. You have webinars all the time, which are fantastic because I can get the recording and I can look at it on my own. And I usually learn something new with most of them. When I onboarded with Taylor, it was, he started taking me through the process. And I had a vision for what I knew the questions I was going to be asked, which was a little different from how most of the other clients I think you have dealt with. And so I asked him if we could have the setup of our dashboard to show the teams, and that I could see certain things rather than having, hey, a boys, girls, and all the teams lumped in together. Because we also had the challenge, we have different price points for every team because everyone's on the ice differently, things like that. Yeah. And he said, okay, why don't we stop this training session? Let me think about it, and I'll get back to you, and we'll do our next onboard in 5 days, and we'll address it. He came back, he knocked it out of the park. And we have a solution we still use today, and it was fantastic. And he was so patient and so understanding.
That's really interesting you say that, Callie. So just a quick follow-up question there. A lot of what we like to say, and what I think our account managers are so good at, is really fitting league apps into your processes rather than forcing your processes like into league apps. So what are kind of some of the things that like you guys do that are a little bit nuanced? Like, could you explain contracts? Because I don't think a lot of other sports do contracts, and like talk a little bit about your payment plans or the data or your waivers. That would definitely be helpful for us to kind of, share just how we fit, again, into your organization.
Basically, every team, their tuition is based upon ice, tournaments, all kinds of different variables, and every team is different. Especially when I said we have tier 1, tier 2, the offerings are different. And so each team gets a different price point. Usually the age groups are similar, and the girls program offers something completely different. So they have to have a different price point, because you have to make sure that if you're anything you offer, that you can pay for the service that you're providing. And coach salaries, all those things go into how much you need to charge families. And when we were registering, we can't just have 10 teams registering under one program, because everybody needed a different type of payment plan. Everybody had a different starting point for their tuition. And so each team is its own program. And we set it up that way, that was very different. The other thing with hockey is with our scheduling, we have teams sharing ice. So it's not just one team practicing at a certain time. There could be 2 teams practicing at the same time. There's a lot hockey's very challenging compared to other sports. There's only so much ice, and you can't skate on grass. You can set up some artificial rinks, but those are probably
not. No.
Yeah, those are probably more expensive than a regular ice rink in some cases.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of challenges in that way, and this addressed those kinds of differences very well.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think Roy hit the nail on the head, and I think, yeah, I mean, I can more or less take this one, but just around fitting it to what you're looking for, and it's all about a conversation. Like, it should be a mutually beneficial partnership, and to hear that it was a work in progress and a conversation, I mean, that's definitely a goal for us. We want to help the administrators and operations, so people care about the service that's provided on the ice in your instance or in their community, can get back to focusing on that. And being able to do that as people like me and Taylor and Michael, who you used to work with, just freeing up that time to allow you to kind of streamline things. But shifting that conversation a little bit, you're also a design shop partner, which is kind of another service that we provide, and a lot of the themes that you see when you're talking to me and our support team are consistent on that front. And I'd love to have you explain why you chose League Apps to build that website. It's such a big thing for a brand, and when you're looking to scale and grow and establish that community, it's so important. So, why did you choose League Apps? What was that process look like? And, do you feel like it really helped you achieve some of those goals?
Yeah, we just transitioned to the League Apps website this past year, and we started, I believe it was spring of 2018 with League Apps, and our experience with you on the registration side has been so positive. The customer service has been so positive. That was a big thing that made us decide to reach out to you as well. We transitioned to the partnership with the website after having experimented with doing a website on our own. We wanted to have something that was unique, that didn't look like everybody else. And that's why we didn't go with Sports Engine when we talked to other companies. Sports Engine required you to use their website as part of their program, and we didn't want that. We didn't want to look like everybody else. We wanted to have a unique look. Again, a competitive environment. And when we used a consultant, and they did a great job, it looked fantastic. And then they turned it over to us. And trying to keep up with all the technical aspects and the IT behind the scenes things, not being able to code, they became major roadblocks on our website being functional. And then things started becoming obsolete and we didn't know how to transition them. It became very obvious that we really needed help. We needed a support team behind us to help us with our website. And we realized that what we had, we couldn't change because we couldn't make it pop. We didn't know how to change the design elements without blowing up the website. So our partnership transitioned to you. We looked at a couple different websites and what you had to offer, and we saw that no two teams looked alike, and we really liked that. Not to mention that it was economically so much more efficient than what we had going for us. We would have had to hire a consultant to pay an hourly fee. So it just made a lot of sense on so many areas, and the integration with our registration of people being able to sign into their websites, it all appealed to us. And that's why we decided to go. And we, again, knocked it out of the park. We've been very happy. A lot of really fantastic feedback from people on the website. Now, of course, we have to do the job of keeping up the content and keeping it interesting, but we have so many more modules and ability to put things on our website that we just couldn't do ourselves. So we're very thankful for that. And again, responsive customer support. I can reach out to you. I can reach out to the web design team. I can reach out to support. All three of you will respond to me. And that is something that really speaks to me. I really need help. Sometimes I'm on an island by myself and I'm trying to do IT. I'm trying to do the financial side of things. And I just don't have the time to try to go online and try to figure out how to do something. And hey, I don't know how to code this. You guys take care of it. It's been a really good partnership, and you make it economically worth it.
We appreciate you saying that, Callie. That's exactly why we're here, why we're doing what we want to do, and why we're kind of in this business in general. I think, Melissa has her own sports story. I have my own sports story, but we know that, like, you as organizers and administrators and people who are in the back offices actually make all this stuff happen for the kids to actually have fun. So hats off to you. A couple of just an idea on, what's next for the club, as COVID kind of still around. I know you guys, we were talking a little bit briefly about, practices and, still kind of non-contact, not playing in some games. Like, what do you see for like almost the next 6 months? And then what do you see, kind of after that over the next couple of years? Any goals or any fun stuff that you guys have planned?
I think for the next 6 months is to keep everybody healthy and safe, but still have a very competitive environment. Some statistics that have been brought up to us are that, unfortunately, with the current situation with COVID and so many people being quarantined and losing their jobs and things like that, kids not being able to go to school or participate in their activities as they normally do, it's creating a lot of stress and a lot of depression. And we want to be able to provide some kind of outlet for the kids, but yet also make sure that we're not continuing the pandemic. So our next 6 months are basically a huge challenge of offering the kids something, and hopefully it's competitive and can include games, but making sure that all the families and players feel safe while they're doing it. That's a huge challenge. That's something we've never faced before, and we didn't foresee that. You always want to make sure everyone's safe, but what the safe and the risk management was very different. It was injury prevention, being kind to each other, and while we still have those initiatives to make sure, the anti-bullying and those types of initiatives, this has brought a whole new dimension. As a nonprofit, we do need to make it through these next 6 months. We need to make sure we provide a product for our players, and we need to make sure that they all develop and get better. For the future, I envision that if we, continuing our partnership with League Apps, and as you improve your product, you improve our efficiency, and you also improve our relationship with our end users, our parents, our families. When we have a registration that works smoothly and is easy for them, we don't hear anything because everybody's happy.
Yep.
And you continue to add, when we get feedback that we would like to have this or that or certain features, you're always receptive to it, and you give us a timeline. And I have to say that I don't know that there's ever been a timeline that you haven't been within the range of when you expect things to launch. It's not always overnight, but if you say something's in the pipeline and we're expecting it next fall, I can expect that there's been a major improvement made. And I always think with this kind of product, everybody uses it so differently that
Yep.
It's really sometimes tough to filter out what will make this better and what will just give us a headache.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
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 But I envision the Colonials continuing to offer a good product for families. And my internal slogan for how I want parents to feel about the organization is that we're making better people one player at a time. That's kind of my catchphrase to myself.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
Love that. I mean, your goals are in a sense our goals, and we're definitely in it for the long haul here. So we're really, excited to help do whatever we can as you're, executing on those and making strides in that direction. In the wake of COVID and everything that's happening that's virtual, and everybody's eager to be on the ice and in person and getting kids out of their houses and running around and whatnot. But the reality is there's a lot of virtual and digital training happening right now. How do you think technology is going to continue to influence hockey and just sports more generally?
We actually offered this summer virtual training for our players that was pretty well received. And I think it has added a dimension that we will look to do in the off season next year. It has also, it has made us pivot. Video sessions, you don't have to have them in a room in the rink. You can say, okay, let's send out a Zoom link, and I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to do some video breakdowns. Whether it's they're learning a new team concept, they're learning where they need to be position wise depending on the age group, or if it's just teaching some fundamentals. But showing kids feedback of what they were doing on the ice. It is that I think technology has been a major pivot in the past 6 months that nobody probably thought about, the Zoom meetings considerably. But hockey is a sport where people are at the rink, so we want to get back to games and things like that. But what makes you better? Practice. So our practices and trying to do things without contact in hockey, luckily there's a lot of equipment, a lot of kids wear shields, and there is automatically some space between the kids. But if you do more skills-based practices rather than scrimmages all the time, well, which we can't do right now, so coaches have to be very creative with their practice plans. How do we make kids better? How do we develop their skills? And there's a little bit more probably of an individual focus than team concepts right now.
Cool. Callie, to kind of wrap some of this up, I had a question that I think would be resounding for all. If you could, hold a forum or talk to all the different administrators of every other, youth hockey group or youth sports organization, what would be your 3 or 4 words of wisdom or 3 or 4 bullet points that you would kind of give them?
For running a youth organization?
Yeah. For people right in your same position.
I would say communication, be flexible, and be very patient.
You hear that? So communicate, be flexible, and be patient.
And most of all, be kind to everybody.
I think that's just good life advice.
That's
Yeah,
life advice right there.
that just translates to anything. And you execute on all of those so well. And, Callie, we just want to thank you again. So lucky to work with you on a day-to-day basis. And we just really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to chat with us. You said very lovely things about League Apps, and I know I appreciate it. We all do. And just appreciate everything you do to make the partnership what it has become today. And it's really a special one, I think. So just thank you so much again, and for your commitment to the Colonials and youth hockey.
Well, thank you, because I feel the same. You guys have been, you really have lifted up my level of performance, because you're just so great to work with. And again, super people, and I will go to bat for you all the time, because if you're making me better, I hope that I'm helping make you better as well.
Feeling is overwhelmingly mutual.
I'm a big proponent of win-win.
Totally. Right there with you.
Thank you so much, Callie. Thank you for also dealing with me in the beginning.
No, Roy, you've been fantastic. I have never seen an account rep who has made the sale and is willing to stick around for the stuff that happens after the sale. Usually it's, hey, I made the sale, now it's your problem. You have not been like that. You've jumped in at several points. Even when we were talking about the web design, you jumped right back in.
Anytime for the Colonials. Thank you so much, Callie.
Thank you all.